All right. The NBA Finals are here. We finally made it. And I think we're in for a really, really, really good series. Like, I think we're in for a 6 or 7 game series, maximum and minimum. I don't see either of these teams sweeping the other or gentlemen sweeping. If either team does, compliments to the chef. Like, that's crazy. Both of these teams are, I think, too good. They're too good for that sort of thing to happen. And one thing I've kind of noticed when I've seen a lot of people talk about this finals and talk about how these teams mesh up is just automatically picking the Dallas Mavericks. And I understand it because the Dallas Mavericks are a really good team. But I don't like it how many people are nitpicking and kind of underrating the Boston Celtics. Like, what more do we want the Celtics to do? I mean, this entire playoff run, they've only lost 2 games. They are undefeated on the road. They have handled business when they've needed to handle business. In the one series that they were really battle tested in, they swept the opposing team. And in that series, yes, you can make the debate that it should have been 2-2. But if you look at it, yes, game 1, the Pacers lost. But games 3 and 4 that were really, really close down the stretch, I don't see it as the Pacers losing those games. I see it as the Boston Celtics simply flipping the switch and saying to themselves, we're not losing this game. Which is what really, really good, great teams do. And even great teams, some great teams can't even do that because that's an extremely hard thing to do. Just sit there and simply flip the switch and say, all right, now we're taking this seriously. Now we're going to play some real basketball. And I've never seen a team criticized for being the best team this entire NBA season, wire to wire. I mean, there's never been a time that we sit there and thought that, are the Celtics really that good? It's only been since they entered the playoffs and every team they played has been hurt. Like in the first round, Jimmy Butler was out. But let's be honest, if Jimmy Butler did play, do you really think Miami could have beat the Celtics? Let's keep it a buck. If the Cavs were fully healthy, do you really think the Cavs would have beat the Boston Celtics? If Tyrese Halliburton was healthy, do we really think the Indiana Pacers would have beat the Boston Celtics? I think no matter what happened health-wise, barring any major injury with the Boston Celtics themselves, they would have won. They would have won the East. Now, would they have dropped maybe a few more games here and here? Yes, but they didn't. And I'm not going to sit here and bang on a team that has done everything they needed to do. You can only play the teams in front of you, and they've done that, and they've dominated an Eastern Conference, which I think is not as bad as people make it out to be. The Eastern Conference is really, really good. Now, it's not on par with the West, but it's still a good conference. Like the Pacers, I believe the Pacers could have made the Eastern Conference Finals barring any of the injuries from the teams they played. Yes, they could have beat Milwaukee if Giannis and Dame were healthy. That is completely a possibility with how well they played the Bucks during the regular season. If the Knicks were fully healthy, I believe it's definitely in the realm of possibilities that they could have beat them. So I'm not going to sit here and say the East is trash, the East is this. Boston should not be praised at all for doing what they're supposed to do. They should be, because we've seen so many teams not do that. Everybody picked Denver to walk through the West. I did. And they didn't. They probably should have, but they didn't. You have to do it. And the Boston Celtics have done it. So I don't understand the criticism they are facing. And I also don't understand the criticism and the hate that a guy like Jason Tatum regularly gets. Like, I saw on Get Up that Zach Lowe said he's not a top 5 player. And while I think you can make a debate for him not being one, I believe there's also a very strong debate for him being one. Like let's keep it a buck. Giannis, Luka, Jokic. Those are definitely players that are better than him. Definitely. But then Zach Lowe mentioned Shea, and he mentioned Joel Embiid. But Shea, it's like Shea just got here. Jason Tatum's been here. I understand saying that Shea's a top 5 talent. You can make a debate for him versus Jason Tatum, but I believe that Jason Tatum's over Shea. And then Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum has been a much better playoff performer than Joel Embiid has been their entire careers. I think we've kind of underrated how good Jason Tatum's been in the playoffs. I mean, he has a few 50 burgers under his belt. He's had one of those in a Game 7 against Joel Embiid. I mean, I don't understand the criticism he gets. I understand that people may not like the fact that he loves taking threes and difficult shots and not going out there and getting easy buckets, which he should be able to get given his big frame and his amazing skill set. But that's nitpicking. Jason Tatum is a great player. Jason Tatum is a superstar, and I don't want to take anything away from him. But he's also entering the first series where he's not the best player, and that is not a slight towards Jason Tatum. If anything, that's just praise to Luka Doncic, and Luka Doncic is just amazing. And that's not a slight to Jason Tatum saying he's not better than that man. Because not many people are. You can make a debate right now that Luka Doncic is the best player in the league, and I won't look at you crazy. And honestly, this league is what have you done for me lately, league? And what has Luka Doncic done for me lately? In a closeout game, he outscored the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first quarter by himself. That's crazy. Luka's insane. And I think we're in for a really, really good series. Now, like I said, I think this series is like a coin flip. Like this whole entire time I've been like debating myself. At first I picked the Celtics in 7. Then I was like Mavericks. I'm like Celtics, Mavericks. And yeah, it's tough like that. But I think that's because there's a lot of really, really interesting matchups. And the main matchup that I think is the most interesting, I don't think a lot of people are talking about, is how will this Dallas defense guard the Boston Celtics? Because if you notice, this entire playoff run for Dallas, they've been a really, really good defense. And mainly because they've been able to do this style of defense where they let non-shooters shoot, they have amazing gap control, make it very hard for your star players to get to their spots, get to the lane, get easy buckets. I mean, you saw in the OKC series that they made it very hard for Shea. Now, Shea is just one of those ones. He was still able to get buckets. In the Minnesota Timberwolves series, they made it very, very hard for Anthony Edwards to get in the rhythm and get any of the shots that he wanted. They made him settle for them threes. But it's like, when you play the Boston Celtics legitimately have the personnel to run a 5-out lineup that's effective. They can put a lineup out there where Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, and Al Horford, and you could be scared to leave any of them open. Because we all know Kristaps Porzingis is one of the best floor spacers in the league when it comes to bigs. And then Al Horford last series had a game where he hit 7 threes. Al Horford is going to hit some threes. Jason Tatum, we know, can hit some threes. Jaylen Brown, when he gets hot, he's hot. And Derek White, it's the same way. So I'll be very interested to see how they match up. And also, just how, like, who guards Jason Tatum? I have a good feeling that it's going to be Derrick Jones Jr. with the Jason Tatum assignment. But I also can see them maybe throwing PJ Washington at him at times. Maybe even a little bit of Josh Green, Maxi Kleber. Just showing Jason Tatum a lot of different, matchups. Not making it easy on him to pick on one guy. Give him a lot of different things. Give him a lot of different looks. And that's kind of what they did these past 2 series when they played Ant and they played Shea. So I think that's kind of like the biggest matchup of this series. How will this really, really good Boston Celtics offense play against this Dallas Mavericks defense that's been one of the best in the league? And then also it's like, who is Luka and Kyrie going to guard? Because yes, Kyrie has been a plus defender this entire playoff run. And Luka at times has been really good defensively, like much better than anybody likes to give him credit for. But it's still like, who are they going to guard? Like, I know Kyrie's probably going to guard one of the guards, but who do you put Luka on? And I think personally, you put Luka on Porzingis. Porzingis is not going to try and body Luka and use his size. That's not what Porzingis really does. Like, yes, this year Porzingis has been the most efficient he's ever been on post-ups. And he's done post-ups more than any other point in his career this year. But it's like, we know what Kristaps does. And even though as of right now, it's looking like he's going to play game 1 barring some major setback, we still don't know how healthy Kristaps Porzingis is. So I think that's going to be a very good matchup. Just Joe Mazzulla and Jason Kidd playing checkers, deciding what they're going to do. Jason Kidd defensively and Joe Mazzulla offensively. And then if we switch to the other side of the ball or court or other part of both teams, I don't know how to say it for basketball, I like how Boston matches up against Dallas defensively. Now, I do not think by any stretch of the imagination that the Celtics are going to come out here and just stop the Mavericks, because the Mavericks are just too good. Kyrie and Luka have shown when they really want to get a bucket, they're going to get a bucket. The most you can do is make it really, really tough for them. And I think the Celtics have the personnel to do that. For Kyrie, I can definitely see Drew Holiday and Derek White being the 2 primary defenders on him. And Drew Holiday has always been heralded as one of the best perimeter defenders in this league when it comes specifically guards. And Derek White has just been a really good defender ever since he's got to the Celtics and one of the best role players in the league. Like, you can make a debate that he's the most impactful role player in the past 2 years. And that's saying a lot, because there's a lot of really, really good role players. And then for the Luka assignment, it's like, you're not going to stop Luka. Because one thing we saw last year is that Luka is probably one of the few superstars that is scheme proof. Like, we saw the Timberwolves deploy so many different coverages on a pick and roll. And no matter what they did, if they blitzed Luka, if they played drop coverage, if they just played straight up man, if they switched, no matter what they did, Luka ate. And I feel like Luka's going to be able to do a lot of that in this series. And mainly because we kind of saw last series when the Pacers and Celtics played, that the Pacers were picking on Al Horford. And yes, while the Pacers have some of the best guard play in the league, they're not the Dallas Mavericks. I love Andrew Nembhard. I love TJ McConnell. I love Tyrese. But they're not Luka and Kyrie. That's going to be a problem. And I think the Boston Celtics are going to have to do everything in their power to not let that switch happen. And I feel like the primaries on Luka is going to be a mixture of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I know I've seen some footage where these teams have played and Jason Tatum was not the one guarding Luka, and it's been an assortment of other characters. But I feel like in this type of series, Jason Tatum has to sit there and say, I'll guard him. I'll do it. Because you're going to need him to do it. And I think that's their best option. Jason Tatum is big enough, strong enough, and athletic enough to at least give Luka a lot of trouble, a lot of problems. Like, one of the main things I respect about Anthony Edwards is that he said, I want Kyrie. I'll do that. I'll guard him. I understand how important this moment is, and I'll do that. As a superstar, as the best player on this team, I'll do that. I love when star players say, I'm going to guard the other team's best player. And I feel like Jason Tatum's going to have to do that in this series, because besides them two, yes, Jrue Holiday and Derek White are really good defenders, and I can definitely see them, guarding Luka at times. But the main problem I see with them is they're not big enough. That's what we saw last series. Jaden McDaniels, he wasn't big enough. Luka was just simply just backing him down based off size alone. And while Derek White and Jrue Holiday are phenomenal defenders, Luka can do that to them. It's just a chess match. And besides those four players, I don't want to see Sam Hauser guarding Luka. If Sam Hauser is guarding Luka gonna go for 70. I'm not even trying to be funny. That's definitely a possibility. I feel like Luka's got that Larry Bird type energy to him, where he'll be disrespected if he sees a white boy guarding him. Really? You know what I do to people like you? You know what I did to people like you when I was 16 years old? Crazy. Get off of me. But yeah, it's going to be a chess match. There's so many interesting matchups, and I could really see this going either way. I can see the Mavs winning just based off the fact that I feel like Luka can come out and completely control this game. Be very LeBron-esque, and he's going to control the pace of the game, how it's played, and make sure his team gets the best shot possible every time they get down the court. And if Kyrie's very aggressive, especially early on, that could be a problem for the Celtics. Combined with the fact that the Celtics, while they can't shoot themselves in the games, they can also shoot themselves out of the games. And then I can also see the Celtics winning just based on the fact that I feel like their offense matches up very well against what the Mavericks want to do defensively. They have the shooters. If you're going to leave Al Horford open, if you're going to leave Kristaps Porzingis open, if you're going to leave Jaylen Brown open, they definitely have the potential to hit 7 threes in a game. That's definitely possible. We've seen it happen this year, and we've seen it happen in the playoffs this year. We've seen it happen last time they've had deep playoff runs. And then the fact that I feel like they had the personnel to play defense much better than the Minnesota Timberwolves did. I think this series is really a toss-up. And if it's a toss-up, I'm going to choose who I trust the most. And I trust Kyrie and Luka the most to pull out the series. So I'm going to choose the Mavericks to win in 7. And if the Mavericks win in 7, Boston may burn itself down, because that means Kyrie is going to win it. Kyrie is going to win a championship in TD Garden. And I want to see that. As a Kyrie fan, I think that would be wonderful, and I don't think we're ready for that. And there's honestly a possibility that Kyrie wins Finals MVP. I don't think a lot of people want to admit that Kyrie can do that. If Kyrie comes out and does what Kyrie can do, I have a good feeling that if he's cooking, Luka is smart enough to know, I'm just going to let him cook, and I'm going to be fine with it. I'm going to roll with it. Because one thing I've been very impressed with when it comes to Luka Doncic is that he's been able to look at Kyrie and say, you got it. I'll let you run the show. That was a big problem that I think everybody thought would come about when those two got together. And Luka has looked at Kyrie at times and been like, this is your team. You got it. At times. Because at the end of the day, it's Luka Doncic's team. He's the best player. He's the alpha. but it's possible for there to be two alphas on the team. But yeah, it's really a toss-up. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this goes either way. But in the end, I'm gonna have to choose the Mavs in 7. So let me know down in the comments below who you think will win. You know, what's your prediction? Who do you think will be Finals MVP? Who do you think is going to be like the most impactful player in this series for both teams? Just let me know your thoughts and opinions. And I love y'all. I'm gonna see y'all later.